Are we on? Have you
We're on.
tweeted it out?
No, I'm going to tweet it
Okay.
out right now while talking to
Excellent.
everybody here.
So,
I'm going to do
are we
it
on
all
YouTube?
live.
Oh, okay.
No,
We're on.
not YouTube.
Are we on?
We're going to figure YouTube out. Oh, shit, it's not there.
It's not there.
I was going to say it's not muted because, like, I just heard you say, "Are we on again?" I'm like, I just told you. Now I realize, no, it's a stream.
There.
Genius level, okay?
Good
Genius
job.
level.
Good.
That's
job.
me.
Good job.
That's me. Just go do that
Pop
for
out the
now.
chat. Cancel the close on those tabs. What the hell, Will Wheaton?
Is Will Wheaton being weird?
Taking pictures of him in a bubble bath. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever floats his boat.
Suppose.
Oh,
Could be worse.
he probably does have a boat since he's in the bubble bath. Maybe he doesn't.
I don't know. He may have a boat.
Maybe. I'd have a boat.
Okay. Boom. Hoofda. It is kind of humid out right now. And it's raining.
Oh, I'm
It's
racing in here.
raining heavily, as you could probably just see from that flash. Did you see that, Patrick?
No, I wasn't
Okay.
looking.
Well,
Damn it.
There was a
Missed
huge
it.
lightning flash, and this has been doing this for 20 minutes. I totally blame Patrick for this because since he called
Good.
me in the middle of an Overwatch match, he, like, it started doing this shit.
Oh, you have to say in the middle of an
In the
Overwatch
middle of an
match.
it absolutely was. It absolutely was.
Did you win?
I think so, yeah. But it was
Okay.
it was quick. It was quick
So
play,
let's
so it
say-
didn't matter.
I was going to say, you can't blame
No,
me for this.
but it was quick play. It was quick play,
If
so
you
it didn't
lost.
matter.
Okay.
It don't
Okay.
matter. None of this matters. But yeah, it's been no stranger to me though, because like it's been raining every 5 days out of the week for the past 2 months in an area that's notorious for flooding. It scares everybody in this city, except
Well, I think we know a thing or two about flooding where I am.
know a thing or two about flooding too, Patrick. Don't debate on me on that one.
Well, it's not a debate. You get a little bit of flood, I get a little bit of flood.
I
it's there.
spent 6 months living in my mother's basement because of a flood.
I'm glad you didn't share that flood.
Because anyone who is curious, just Google Souris River flood, Souris, of 2011, record flood for North Dakota. As far as like the Souris River goes, I don't know if it's like the worst flood, in the entire state. I'm sure that would go to the 1997 Grand Forks flood. By the way, I live in Grand Forks, so super to me. Hopefully it doesn't flood next year for our 20-year anniversary. Oh, goodness gracious. But, I don't know how to transition into this.
I would tell you just start fresh.
Subway, eat fresh.
Yeah,
Sub-Zero.
yeah, absolutely.
Eat cold. Cold cuts. Sub-Zero. Meta theory
Haywood?
for Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero works for Subway. Delivers cold cuts to everybody, but then they don't want him, so he has to kill him.
Wow.
Worst,
That's a lot of fatalities.
worst delivery man ever. Worst. And he can't cope with the fact that he's the worst sandwich delivery man. So he has to really kill people.
That's got to be the silliest theory I've ever heard.
Oh, I've got more, but we will save them because right now it is Super Reset Brothers, as it is thundering and lightning outside, and you could probably hear that through my microphone here on Super Reset Brothers live on August the can't remember the 11th, August the 11th of 2016. One of these days I will
There
remember
you
the day.
go.
One of these days, I still haven't memorized the year exactly. I am Tanner Larson, and with me is Patrick Breeden. Patrick, is it raining over there?
It's only raining men. Guy, it's a big problem when it's raining men because it makes driving difficult.
As it probably would. You don't want to really run over anybody, and you would
No, I
first,
also don't want them to like
yeah.
fall in the car.
And it's like, oh my god, there's bodies everywhere. What do I do?
Yeah, I don't know why anybody like. I was just thinking that when you were talking about raining, I'm like, why would anybody be like, oh, it's raining people from the sky? Hallelujah! It's be like, no, that's raining people from the sky. Oh my god!
Just somebody like do something. Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, that would be my reaction. Not, oh, hallelujah, that's great. No.
What was that? The Weather Girl in the 80s? Oh,
Yeah, that's exactly how that would go. She'd just come outside and be like, well, this is great weather. I think this is really good for everything.
you talk
No,
about a you talk about a
not
one-hit
even.
wonder. Oh my god. Weather Girl. Would we call Devo one-hit wonder? I mean,
Maybe. Why
there's
not?
Whip It, and then what else? Whip It. Let's see. The Bee Gees are one-hit wonder. Debate me on that. Debate me on that. They are.
They are.
Want to know who else is? Marcy Playground. ABBA.
ABBA,
Uh,
one hit wonder.
Starland Vocal Band. MC Hammer, Sir Mix-a-Lot. We could just
Yeah.
rattle off all these one-hit wonders if you want. That could be our entire episode, but we do have a different topic.
I don't know what brought this on.
You
We were
brought
just
it up
like,
with "It's Raining Men."
I never told you to start naming off one hit wonders, but I do thank you for
Okay,
it.
well, we will go ahead and into our topic. This week's topic, we are going to be talking about hyped up games that just seemingly fell flat for whatever reason, or just didn't live up to its hype. We have made a list for this. Patrick, do you want to start us off since you have that list?
Yeah, in terms of it, this is a list that we don't 100% agree on, so this is gonna
We
be
don't
interesting.
100% agree on this? Oh my god. Oh, there was one game you mentioned on here, and I am still salty about it. But we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, we're gonna take it as the list goes on. So, the first one, I totally forgot it even existed until you mentioned it, because it was just, I don't know. There was a lot of hype. People were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this," and it went
Yeah.
nowhere fast. And that's
Naughty
Naughty
Bear.
Bear. Anybody
The
remember
trailers
Naughty Bear?
for it and a lot of the news that was built around it, everybody was kind of excited for the game. And I think once people got their hands on it, especially Game Grumps, I feel like Game Grumps had to do something with this one where the game was just, it did not look fun to play when you saw like actual gameplay footage. The game looked very awful. And I don't want to say it looked bland, but it looked like what Freddy Fazbear was when he was a kid. I think this is a precursor to what Five Nights at Freddy's
Wow.
was.
That's why he's so grumpy.
Because he had a shitty debut.
Yeah, if I had a debut like that, I'd be pretty pissed too. Like, the biggest thing I remember about Naughty Bear is like covering it when I was doing Screw Attack News. Because I had the same idea. People are going to go nuts over this because, like, you don't normally take a teddy bear and be like, oh, this teddy bear is a complete prick. Here you go.
People,
That's not normally what
people,
happens.
I've seen comparisons to this when it was being built up to Conker's Bad Fur Day. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to live up to that kind of hype. There's no way it'll live up to Conker's Bad
No.
Fur Day.
Okay, I mean, like, I guess I could see where they're going with that because of the teddies, but no. Not even. I mean, to me, that just, it doesn't make any sense because, you know, I mean, the Teddies were jerks, and they came in there and they did what they did, and you shot them and whatnot. But Naughty Bear was like, his whole MO is playing like really awful pranks on his so-called friends. I mean, totally different.
But I mean, I feel like the comparison they made to was like, oh, it looks like a kind of cute kind of thing, and then it's just like, oh, it's really bad. But the title of it was like Naughty Bear, and I'm like, I don't know if this comparison really works.
Well, that too, because with Conker's Bad Fur Day, you could go, either
You
direction.
could, it could,
Be
it
like,
could actually
oh,
be misconceived as a silly game. It's just like, oh, it's a pun. He's a squirrel.
yeah, it's just he has a bad
Yeah,
fur day.
like a bad hair day.
oh
Oh no!
Yeah, yeah, you could get that vibe, and then you play
Holy
the game, and you're
shit,
like, holy
this is
shit,
awful.
what? No, no. Sit down. Here you go, Junior. It's a new game. Oh
Get
my
that out of
God!
here!
So
You rip it out of the
can-
N64 without even turning it off, and it just corrupts the system.
Yeah, you could do something like that. But when it's Naughty Bear, the hell do you think's gonna happen? He's a naughty bear.
Was that rated T or M?
I'm not sure.
That I think would be interesting to know, because if it was rated T, then it would be like very tame. It would be like kind of mischievous bear.
Rated S,
Rated S for
suck.
stuck.
Is that
Rated
a
M for
possibility?
mediocre.
Yeah.
That's what
Deal
it
with
seems to be
that.
nowadays with mature titles. It's like, oh, it's rated M, mediocre. T for terrible, E for exhilarating.
It was.
Oh, it was M. Okay, so it was.
Oh wait. No, according to Metacritic on 360,
What?
it was T. So I'm getting conflicting.
Nobody knows what the
Information
ESRB
here.
rated this game. Nobody knows.
Does anybody
I'm
care?
sure they don't. But yeah, Naughty Bear was one game that really didn't live up to the hype, and like I said, I think Game Grumps had to do with it, but a lot of people like leaving reviews for it too on Metacritic also did not help whatsoever, because I think Metacritic does become the end all be all, whether people like it or not, for a game and its rating. And not only games, but movies, music, TV shows, like anything that it's criticized ends up on Metacritic, and that could either hurt or help it.
Metacritic usually tears everything apart.
Well, yeah,
So-
it's the user ratings, obviously, but going with like
Yeah.
actual critic scores, people get paid to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the critic scores, it's just an aggregation, is all.
But
that
it's-
is. Just bringing
Has
scores
any
together.
has any aggregation of on that site been inaccurate for the most part?
Like, when you play it and you just look at their review and say, have they
Yeah.
gone insane?
Looking at the total score, not like one score on like Destructoid or whatever it is like, oh, what the fuck are they thinking?
That's a really good question, and I think I'm going to look into something.
Off the top
right
of your head,
now.
though, give me an answer on that one.
Off the top of my
Okay.
head, I have no idea.
Well,
Okay, that was the one thing I was thinking of, and no, they scored it highly. So nope.
oh, all right then.
When it comes to using that, they're usually
Okay.
spot on. Because the thing I was thinking of is like, oh man, when Miss Pandaria came out for World of Warcraft, like everybody was hating on that, just going off for whatever reason.
Except the critics.
And I think back, right? I was thinking back. I'm like, no, that was
Yeah.
actually pretty decent. What was everybody
because
hating
everyone
about?
everyone
No,
likes
it's
to
got an
like
82.
either hate on something or really love on something. And the user
Right,
user
it's got an
scores on
82
Metacritic
on
do
Metacritic.
not really hold any weight whatsoever to anything.
So yeah, when it comes to something like that, it's got an 82 on Metacritic. So you're right. In terms of usually when it comes to these aggregate scores,
Yeah.
everything's okay. Which at the same time, No Man's Sky does not have anything
yet.
on there yet. It's just got.
Oh, of
it's
course
just got
not
some
yet. The
first
game was
impression
just
paragraphs.
released.
Well, PC Gamer's already put out. They haven't put out a review, but they put out like some heavy
Right,
opinions
right.
already.
But I don't think there's any review out yet, and I don't expect a review for another week and a half.
Nah, probably not, because I don't think that No Man's Sky has a big publisher to like send out
Right.
copies and whatnot.
It's usually just an indie kind of thing, and you could say Sony, but it's not exclusive to a Sony console. But
No.
that's one of the reasons why we're having this discussion is because of No Man's Sky and some of the initial feedback off of it. It's like, well, it doesn't live up to the hype, and some of that hype, I believe, was Sony's fault. But let's not talk about No Man's Sky too much tonight, because neither Patrick or I have played the game, unfortunately. But we
Yeah.
can.
So I was going to say, let's mention that really quick because that is one of the things right now where it looks like it's not going to deliver on the hype, but we can't say for sure.
But some of that hype was like self-delivered by Sony. And it's like, oh, it's this next big thing. It's amazing. But then again, I think Trevor mentioned it last night in our little chat that whenever someone throws around the number with a quintillion on it, of course you're going to get hyped up about it.
Plus, I think a lot of people, when it came down to the game, weren't paying attention to what the head of Hello Games was trying to say, because they had the idea that it was going to be heavily action oriented, and I don't ever recall.
I don't recall him
that,
saying that either.
Ever.
I don't know where they got that notion, but it just seems
Space exploration and fighting. Like,
I wonder
whatever monsters or whatnot are on the planet.
I wonder
That's what
if they
remember.
meant like space exploration, and then they immediately thought, oh, it's like Star Trek.
Yeah, something, but from what I'm understanding, there are some action points, so like space pirates will show up and like decide to fuck your day up, but overall, it's not like, oh man, action all the time. It's my understanding it's more like a bit of Terraria.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison to put No Man's Sky in right now, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with Terraria. So, I don't have my copy of No Man's Sky yet. That's going to be tomorrow night. But, just throwing that out there in terms of, like, the games that, had hype and have gone kind of, like, hit the low tier on that one. I know that No Man's Sky is kind of doing that at the moment, but I'm not sure I'm going to agree with that.
Well,
I'm not sure critics will either.
we'll see what happens. But what's next on our little list here?
Oh, man. John St. John, I love you, man, but Duke Nukem
See, I really
forever.
like this game because it is what it pretty much delivered itself on. But I feel like it is mediocre. You have to like the faults that this game has in order to really enjoy it. I feel like that's one of the major reasons why people don't like it is because the game itself is dated out of the box.
Not only that, but to me, it does have some generally boring parts where it's just like, will this
Yeah.
ever end? Like, I remember, like, one stage where you're going through this one place that has, like, the aliens. It's near the beginning, and it's just like, it goes on and on and on. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to give, like, the new school feel with an older school game, but I don't know. I just think maybe if they had just tore it down and built it from the ground up again,
Would
it may have
that
been a
would
better
that really
game.
have hurt its legacy even more though?
Yeah.
Because
So I guess the thing is, it didn't stand a chance.
yeah, it didn't stand a chance. But from what we know anyway, the game was in development for 13, 14 years, somewhere in between 12 to 15 years. That game was the literal definition of vaporware, development hell. Every single like adjective you can think of for a delayed game. That was Duke Nukem Forever, because that game I believe was announced in 1997, and it just kept and it
something
just
like
kept
that,
getting
yeah.
delayed and delayed, and they had to rebuild it with engine after engine after engine. And I don't know what 3D Realms was thinking, but I felt like the game was way too long for its own good. So I don't know if that was really the bulk of the developmental process, that they had to keep adding levels onto it for whatever reason, or just at least like rework the story in some way. But the game dragged on for so long, and it felt like
Even individual stages dragged on longer
I felt
than they
like that
should
game
have.
could have been chopped in half, and it would have been better.
I mean, it was even to the point where I understand what you're saying, where it was kind of do or die at the moment with that one. Because, I mean, Apogee, the parent company
Yeah.
underneath 3D Realms, was pretty much like they reached out to Gearbox and said, "Finish this piece of crap." So, in terms of that, a lot of people give Gearbox flack.
And it's
for it.
not Gearbox's
And,
fault
you know,
because I mean,
not really, because they were handed a project that was like halfway done and was contracted to finish it, and that's what they
but
did.
here's the thing: is like Randy Pitchford, love or hate the man, he actually stepped up to the plate because he had Apogee ties. He had 3D Realms ties with Duke Nukem forever, with working on Duke Nukem 3D back in the day. So I feel like he had he wanted to do this as like a repayment kind of thing for like loyalty to like the Duke Nukem franchise or something like that, because he's gone on to the record and said like I love Duke Nukem and all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
man, I can't blame Gearbox one single bit for this. This was just something that they had to just finish up for like a month or two and then just get it out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty much the whole deal was like a giant care package to save 3D Realms because they were in like the shittiest
And they went
of
bankrupt. They went out of
situations.
business for the most part.
Because the game still
Yeah.
sucked ass. I mean, it just. I'm sorry for the people who enjoyed Duke Nukem Forever, but it wasn't what people were expecting. It did fall flat pretty much as soon as it was released, and that's just what it is. It was not a
No,
good game.
but I still like to pop it in from time to time. I still do.
I still like to play the multiplayer
It's
because
silly. It's
that's where I feel
absolutely
the
silly.
heart of the game. Right, that's where I feel the heart of Duke Nukem, like the franchise. I think it thrives in the multiplayer. The single player, ass, who cares? But the multiplayer is where you really start to get that
Now,
Duke
I
Nukem
feel like people have said that, Duke Nukem as a character, as, this thing now, is dated. And it is dated, but I feel like that character, with the tropes that he has, could still work in this industry to this day. Given,
Yeah.
how
I mean, he
given how
definitely can.
blatantly sexist and all this other stuff, like how macho it is, it could still work. It could still work.
Let's just put it this way before we move on to the next one. You haven't seen the
No,
last Duke
you
Nukem.
clearly haven't. Because if Gearbox works on one for like 2 or 3 years, then it could easily come back as a franchise. If you give Gearbox that franchise, build it from the ground up, it could be great.
So let's move on to something. We're going to skip around here really quick as this is going to be fun. Let's move on to something where we can blame Gearbox
Yep.
and Randy Pitchford. We're going to jump ahead of the list here. We're going to talk about Battleborn.
Okay, let me say this. I played the beta for this game. I had fun with the beta in this game, with the exception of Shane and Oryx. With that opinion that I've stated, I think, in months past, but I'll restate it here. That was the worst character in any game I've ever seen. Useless character. Useless hero. You snuck around and you fucking reappeared, hopefully exploded someone, then you died, but then you could, it had so little health that you couldn't do shit with it. And it was a stealth character. You pop one fucking guy in the face, and then he just turns around like a mosquito was just like buzzing near him, and then he just swats you away. And then you had like an ultimate that rained fire from the sky for like 10 seconds, and then you had to wait 90 seconds for that to do that. So basically, you had to wait 90 seconds to do an attack.
I didn't like the
But
game.
I liked the game.
in
I
general.
honestly will say this. With the time that I played it in the beta, I liked the game. I thought it was going to do well against Overwatch. I'm wrong. I am dead wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it went wrong, really.
I didn't like it at all. As soon as I looked into it, I was like, man, the hype on this game, it's not going to go. Largely because it's supposed to be a MOBA, and I wasn't getting the MOBA feel with it. It seemed awkward in terms of like the way the map was structured and everything. It just seemed really chaotic and unstructured. Like they wanted to create a MOBA, but they didn't pay attention to how map structure works in a MOBA. Just said, here's the thing, here's the fence thing, here's a tower, whatever. And that's not how you do it. And I wasn't enjoying it simply because I was like, where do I go? I look at the map, it's garbage. So, again, where do I go? And once I finally figured out where to go, it was just like the grind is on, and I didn't enjoy it compared to other not MMOs, but MOBAs I could be playing. Like, I would rather play League of Legends at that point. I would rather play Heroes of the Storm, absolutely. Anything but that. I had a friend that kept trying to convince me, yeah, get the game, you can play with me, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know. We gotta see. Because I kept telling him I'm afraid that, it's not going to work out and there's not going to be a community for the game. And guess what happens? I was terrified that would happen, and it did.
And it going head-to-head against Overwatch didn't help its case at all. It was disastrous. Like, I feel like if that game was released a month before or a month after, it would have been fine. It would have stood on its own 2 feet. But going head-to-head against Overwatch did not help this game's case at all.
Well, Overwatch is the kind of game where you can feel how much love
Overwatch was Blizzard's first FPS!
Yeah. Just goes to show how much love they put into their characters in the game. Each character stood out and they cared. You could tell they care about each and every character. Not one character in that game is a throwaway. When I was playing Battleborn, I felt like they didn't give a fuck about any of it.
True. Yeah.
So it was just natural. And I suspected it was going to happen from the very beginning. Because I told people, anything Blizzard touches turns to gold. They're going to create an FPS and they're going to kick
That's
ass.
absolutely true. Like, Blizzard is one of the most untouchable companies right now, and has been for quite some time. Ever since, I believe, when World of Warcraft was released, they became untouchable.
Yeah. You want them to create a real-time strategy game? Boom. Dungeon crawler?
Card game?
They gotcha. Card game? Done. Any of that. They are unstoppable. When they want to create something, they are going to create it and it's going to do well. And even if it flops at the beginning, they're not going to give up on it and they're going to make it better. Just like Diablo 3.
Yep.
That's how they roll.
What's next on our list?
Monday Night Combat.
I really enjoyed this game, but it did not have the standing power. And I feel like Monday Night Combat was not a failure as far as, like, critically speaking goes, but standing power and having a community really hurt this game in the long run, because it became stagnant. The game became stagnant. It didn't have any rebalances. And I think this was before rebalancing a game was a thing. They just let it go, and it's like, oh, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
So,
you
rebalance,
really
and then
that.
they had, like, Super Monday Night Combat, which they didn't rebalance there. That really was the death of that franchise.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play the original. I was one of the people who played Super Monday Night Combat. And I could tell the idea they had with it. I could see where they were wanting to go. But, the community was kind of toxic. It looked like it needed a lot of polish. Again, it's got the kind of MOBA aspect going on, but not quite 100% sure how they wanted to go with it. So it was a little weird and a little wonky. And it just came down to there's better choices.
Yeah.
There's better choices.
And
you don't want to be that game where they have better choices than yours.
But it was a good tower defense for the Xbox 360 and the PC for what it was, basically. It just needed standing power, and it didn't have that. It had a toxic community, which didn't help its case either, and rebalancing. And again, I know this is before rebalancing was really a thing, but it could have been the innovator if you rebalanced characters.
Yeah, I think it probably, if they did rebalancing, I think that would have made the game a lot better in terms of, like, character rotation, trying out different things of that nature, but they didn't. And toxic community, oh yeah. I remember first time I played, I lost horribly because I didn't know what I was doing, and dude on my team, like, goes off in all caps, kill yourselves, you're so terrible.
Oh,
like,
boy.
I love this game.
Yeah. That was something else. But yeah, Monday Night Combat, I wish it would have really had the staying power, and when it was on Xbox Live Arcade, it was one of the summer Summer of Arcade games when that was a brand new like thing to do for Xbox. So it had a little bit of hype around it, but it just didn't have any staying
Just
power in the
didn't.
long run.
Yeah, just couldn't deliver in the long term, and I mean
Yeah,
that's what you got to do. If you lose your player base and
you're
you're an
dead.
online game that requires a community, yeah, you're done.
Yeah,
It's over. So that's bad. You
yeah.
can't do
What's
that.
next? I can tell from the laugh. What's next? I'm not happy.
Oh,
I'm not happy.
oh, this
I'm
is
not
going to be
happy.
a doozy. No, 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 no. You are absolutely wrong.
Okay.
I know what you're
Okay.
thinking. That's not it. I'm laughing because everybody else is going to like go all insane over this one. Let's talk about hatred.
Yeah, let's talk about hatred. My God. Why don't you go first on this one?
That it is the ultimate edgelord game.
It's Reaper's favorite
That
game.
is the first thing I'm gonna say. Oh, it is. It's Reaper's favorite game, so he can be like, die, die, die. That's the point, Reaper. Good job. It just seemed like a controversial piece of ass to begin with. I was not impressed with what I saw with it, and at first I was offended because everybody was like, "Oh, it's just like it's just like Postal 2," and I'm like, I don't remember Postal 2 being like this,
Yeah.
but okay. In the end, there was also the thing that like neo Nazis were making the game, so that's not good. Overall, just it didn't live up to the hype because everybody was expecting like this crazy chaotic game where it's just like, oh my god, you could do all these things. You could knock grandma over and
They
shoot her. It's
expected like a
crazy.
GTA
It's,
kind of thing.
it's also
Yeah.
shitty. Yeah, so who cares if the game sucks?
A lot of people
That's
care
exactly
that
what
the game
happened.
sucks.
No, I mean, who cares about
Oh,
the game
right,
if
right,
it
yeah.
sucks, is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, maybe those guys should have spent more time programming the game instead of being neo-Nazis. I don't know.
May
May
have
have helped.
helped their case in the long run.